Did you give your DNA to 23andMe? Well, if you did, you may want to delete your data before the entire company collapses. So, we're going to talk about that in the steps that you need to take, like, right away, because we don't know what's going to happen to 23andMe, but most likely it won't exist probably in a couple weeks to a month, is my guess. And since we have Kevin back on the show, I thought it'd be great to get his thoughts on Signalgate and why, in my opinion, uh, anyone else would have been court-martialed and in jail for doing the things that we just saw the Secretary of Defense and the VP and all these people do. So, like I mentioned to Kevin before we started the show, I'm not sure what reality we are living in, but here we are with all of that fun. If we could even call it fun. I don't call it fun, but
you gotta have fun with it, or
whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm amazed at the number of people that I respected.
Uh-oh.
Would that be the right way to put it?
Oh no. Yeah, maybe.
Who are just basically saying, "Oh no, this is okay."
It's not okay.
And I will.
There's nothing about it that's okay. Well, let's before we get into that, let's talk about 23.
Yeah, let's do 23 first.
This is the lighter topic. Even
I don't know. I don't know if it's the lighter topic. This one this one worries me more than the Signal.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you haven't heard the news, 23andMe is exploring options such as, putting themselves up for sale, restructuring, bankruptcy, all of those things, because they're not doing so well. And looks like they made some bad business decisions. And, well, it kind of caused a lot of people to think about, well, wait a minute, I just gave my DNA to this company, and they have all this very personal, probably the most personal information that you could actually give to a company, right? I mean, we're talking about DNA, right? And so how would you go about deleting this? But it also brings up kind of the other conversation around this is like, people are saying, well, this is like protected information, right? This is protected health information. HIPAA should cover this, right? And no, HIPAA does not cover these things. And so there are no federal protections for your DNA information and the other very personal information you're giving companies like 23andMe. So it behooves you to delete this information as soon as possible.
But can you?
And that's the big question. But can you? Right.
I don't believe you can.
It depends.
No,
so
I don't think it depends at all. And here's why I say that.
Okay.
And I want to be very clear. I only pretend to be a lawyer on Twitter. Is data an asset? I think it's a simple answer. Yes. Right. I don't think anybody would argue that data is not an asset. My understanding of bankruptcy laws, when you enter Chapter 11, you are not allowed to destroy or modify in any significant way an asset. And so the minute they filed the paperwork for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, I believe the court prevents them from actually deleting the data. If they get a mass influx of people asking for deletion, and if you read their terms, their terms don't talk about, at least not that I've seen, unless they updated them, they don't talk about an immediacy of that deletion. They'll delete it as soon as possible type of thing. They also don't talk about all the other places that data goes, right? Keep in mind that one of the ways 23andMe used the data was for scientific research, right? And that, in their terms of service, has always been treated separately from their storage of the data from the web interface, right?
Yeah.
And so if you go in and say, delete my data right now, I actually believe, again, not in a term, but I actually believe they're not allowed to delete the data. And even if they are allowed to delete the data, they have no requirement to delete that data across it. And so my concern for people is that a lot of people are putting in the request for data deletion with the idea that somehow that magically makes it all go away. And it doesn't.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to add was that I had done a DNA test through another company called MyHeritage, and I actually went in and this is years ago. I went in and deleted my data, but there was actually an option to actually physically destroy my DNA sample, which you could actually request.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's anything like that with 23andMe where because like data is one thing, but you are actually giving a sample.
Yeah. So
that's the other
my
piece.
understanding of 23andMe when I signed up for it, and again, this was years ago when I signed up for it. At that time, they explicitly said they did not keep the sample, that there was no need to ask for them to destroy it because they destroyed it as a part of their business. They did the testing and then they retained the data about the DNA, but did not retain the DNA itself. Okay. Now, again, that was my understanding when I signed up for it, but that's why that wasn't a choice for the longest time, is that there was no need to, if they followed their processes, right? But that and everything I've read up till now still talks about the fact that all they have is data, that all they have is metadata. So yeah, MetaHeritage had the request to destroy it. Ancestry.com also said that they destroyed it as part of dealing with it. Right. Yeah. So they don't have a tube of my spit. I've used all three of those DNA tests. I did them for medical records. I don't, when I started having kids, the concern was passing on some type of genetic problem that I wasn't aware of. And so I did the testing. And when I did the initial testing, it was Ancestry.com, but they didn't do the medical records. And so I then had to go, it was given to me as a gift. And then I had to go and do the 23andMe one. And then I did the MyHeritages because you and I were talking about it. You had done it and found it interesting. And so I played with it. But then again, I'm an on duck because I've always treated my data as public, right? Like I don't have a problem if somebody has it because, I treat it as public. That doesn't make it okay. I want to be clear. This is not a challenge to say, my data is all public and everybody can access it. I just accepted the fact that when I gave it to 23andMe that I had no control over it.
And if you have like little, Kevin clones running around 100 years from now, hey, even better, right?
Yeah, cool. I guess. I don't know. I don't want to be Dolly the sheep, right? Wasn't that the name?
No.
First sheep?
Yes.
To me, this one, I was in I had a reporter from the Huffington Post call and ask me questions about it, and she had talked to a number of other people, and she's like, well, I was, people are saying delete the data. And I said, well, yeah, that's cool. And I recommend doing that. Just don't expect it to actually work, right? It's the same complaint I've always had, right? Like if I sign up for a newsletter, I start getting spam mail immediately. If I tell you I want to unsubscribe, I always get that message that says, we'll do this within 3 to 5 business days. It's like, what? To me, this is a weird one. What I'm really curious about is who's going to buy the assets.
Yeah, that is the big question.
Right. And as far as I know, unless you've seen something more recent,
nothing yet.
I hadn't seen any. Here is a potential buyer, right?
No.
Maybe they'll buy TikTok and in 23andMe, and
oh gosh, and then merge everything together. Oh yeah, that'd be fun. It'll probably be a Chinese company. Let's be honest, right?
Or friend.
Why not?
I'm gonna go with friend
or French.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
it's just my bet.
I was thinking Algerian, but whatever.
Oh, Algerian. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll link in our show notes a couple good articles about this, and by the way, I'll link a post by a friend of ours actually through Ian's, Jennifer Manila.
Yeah.
Had posted a good post about it with the steps, logging in, going to settings, and so on and so on. You can check that out as well. So I linked this article about our next topic. It was a John Oliver episode, and I don't know if you watched John Oliver, Kevin, but
I don't watch many things. I watch clips of John Oliver.
Yes. Yeah. So he had a humorous take on this Signal group chat leak, which we'll link. But I of course, in John Oliver fashion, likes to call out the incompetence of the administration and those things, which is rightfully justified in a lot of ways. But since you're here, Kevin, I would like your opinion on the Signal group chat leak, because this was the talk last week.
I find it fascinating the number of excuses I've heard. I actually had multiple people tell me that this entire thing is a psyop, that they added the editor to to make him look bad.
Of course.
And I will say that if this is a psyop where they're trying to make the editor look bad, they haven't succeeded.
They haven't. They failed miserably.
Yeah. You know what? I actually think this one's pretty stupid. I think this is a distraction from the actual concerns we should be talking about. Would you like to talk about the executive order that was rewriting history?
Which one?
No, the one that literally said that the vice president was going to take over the Smithsonian's Board of Regents to ensure.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember another type of person who rewrote the history of their country, but I mean, I don't know, but I think this is a distraction. I think this is stupid. I think this is awful. I think that what we really should be talking about is, if we're going to focus on Signalgate, let's talk about not the fact that they added an editor to a chat and nobody noticed. But I think what we need to be focused on is records retention, right? We have policies, we have procedures, we have approved software, we have approved hardware, that's where I think the conversation is. And the reason I say that is way too many people are like, well, you recommend Signal. It's like, yeah, I do. I use Signal all the time. I recommend it highly. I don't recommend it for high security.
It's not an anti-Signal thing at all.
And this is kind of like the conversation about DOGE, right? I thought you wanted a smaller government. Yeah, I do. I want a smaller government done responsibly, not by 15-year-old, people who got fired from their internships. This is, and I'm, come at me, bro. This is absolutely one of the most hypocritical mistakes I think we've seen. Trump's entire administration ran multiple times on what about her emails?
Yeah. That's right. The email server.
Yeah.
Lest we forget.
We have entire, and now all of a sudden it's okay to use personal phones and an app that isn't approved to communicate. I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Top secret documents were stored in a bathroom in Mar-a-Lago. Look, Signal is, in my opinion, considered a secure transmission of data. The issue is storage at both ends. If I can compromise the phone, I can get access to the messages.
Right? That's my point. It doesn't mean the phone is secure.
Right.
The app is, but if you still gain access to the phone, you can still gain access to Signal.
Yep. Last week we were doing we did the CSSP mentorship that we do, and we do it, it's a 10-week thing that we do twice a year, and it was funny. Last week, right after all the stuff about Signal came out, was the day we did the session on encryption. And we actually talked about it. And the data has 3 states, right? Solid, gas, and liquid. And or at rest, in transit, and in use. And Signal is not an at rest protection. It is not an in-use protection.
Yeah.
It is an in-transit protection. And I would like to believe that the people that listen to this podcast, the people that I know, are smarter than the average bear, right? And yet I'm amazed at how many people throw, straw man arguments, where it's like, oh, Signal is secure, so this should be okay. It's like, no. Nobody is saying Signal is, or let me rephrase that. Nobody intelligent is saying that Signal is not secure, that is not strong, it does not have, it's where is it secure, right? And we all know that. We all know how to look at context of what we're talking about. We all know how to look at context of what we're evaluating. And so acting like This is okay that they talked about classified information over a non-data retention system geared toward being used on personal devices. I mean, like every aspect of that series of sentences should make you cringe. And if it doesn't make you cringe, I'd like you to reconsider watching every cult documentary on Netflix because you're in one.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
It's asinine.
And like to your point about communication and document retention. I mean, these are things that, should be recorded. Planning a military exercise should be something that's done in a SCIF in a secured facility. And communications are extremely limited, to in-person or approved methods. And, nobody in the government says Signal is a approved, app to be used, for military planning and communications. And so it's a commercial app. Let's just throw that out there, right? This is not a government application.
Not military grade.
Right. But it's that's the point, right? It's like these conversations should not have happened in Signal to begin with. And I'm glad that this reporter actually shared the screenshots and the full record of what happened, because that does need to be disclosed. I thought
it was funny, right? Like everybody's saying, well, it wasn't classified. Okay, well then he can share it, right? So he did.
Exactly. Yeah. So what's the big deal then if it's not classified? But I would argue that that's, sensitive information. If that did get out, right? I mean, there is a risk of, there's these things called spies.
Yeah. Weird.
And they're everywhere. And, that information got out and it could have endangered some Americans' lives, in terms of the planning, or, I mean, who knows, right? A fighter jet could have gotten shot down. Like, we have no idea, right? Like how dangerous this was.
I think it was bad, and never been in the military. Right. So let me just speak from that. Like, I'm the civilian looking in. I think it is horrible that I would know when planes were launching and when planes were supposed to be bombing. But I'm not going to fixate on that part. And the reason I'm not going to fixate on that part is because let's talk about risk assessments, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm remembering correctly, that means that the enemy had a 2-hour window to prepare. If they had compromised it right away, right? Like, let's say that it wasn't the editor of the Atlantic, it was
the head of the Houthis.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Which I would like to believe that the administration has the head of the Houthis Signal phone number, but
you don't know anymore these days.
Yeah, I don't know. And but when we talk about risks, right? That's a 2-hour window for that one attack, and this is where when you start to look at problems, a lot of people are like, well, yeah, but it wasn't that big a deal because we were successful. It's like, yeah, but I think the question that needs to be asked is, where's the rest of the risk, right? How many other conversations are happening on Signal? How many?
We have no idea.
Right. We have no idea. And we have no way to find out. Because if you believe that they're not setting the messages to expire, then you didn't pay attention to the article, right?
Yeah. Right.
This is, I don't know. I think the bigger risk is long-term. I think we have too many things that the Trump administration is doing. And bluntly, in my mind, this is not political.
No, that's definitely not.
I believe that you can go back and listen to the podcast we all had about Hillary Clinton's email server. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I said the same thing there. My issue is not this policy wasn't followed. My issue is you stepped outside of the realm of running the government, the approved ways to run the government. And you did that, in my opinion, to bypass transparency. It's not political. I don't care.
It's irresponsible.
Right. I don't care what party did it. I don't care what person did it.
Yeah.
We have standards for a reason. Follow them.
And I just get upset that around the accountability piece of this. And I was in the U.S. military. Yeah. And I could tell you, if I did anything stupid like this, or anybody else with a clearance did anything stupid like this, you would have been court-martialed and you throw in Leavenworth
And
and they
shouldn't
throw
be.
away the keys.
And
Yes.
shouldn't be.
Right. But if you are the Secretary of Defense or a high-ranking, official that's in this chat, you get to get away with it. And you don't have to even apologize for messing up this bad. So as a veteran, I'm livid, and other veterans
as you should
and
be.
other active military people are livid about this, and they should be.
Yeah.
We all should be. So that's well, let's move on. There's nothing else to say about this at this point, but I think that is all we have time for today, Kevin.
Yeah.
Good to have you back. Hopefully
I'll be back on the
see
road
you
tomorrow.
again.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see you again hopefully next week. But thank you everyone for listening. And until next time, stay safe, stay secure, and stay private. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode. Be sure to subscribe wherever you like to get your podcasts. Visit sharedsecurity.net for merch, previous episodes, and more. If you'd like to help support the podcast, join our Patreon to get ad-free episodes and many more exclusive supporter-only benefits. Visit sharedsecurity.net/supporter for more details.